part of what I was doing during my time off was trying to figure out a thesis topic for my studies at Torah Resource Institute. And this has been a difficult task. I had narrowed it down to several things. There were several different things that led me to choosing the topic that I did, which I will tell you here shortly. However, the nail in the coffin was a video that was put out by someone who most people, if you have a Facebook account and you are in the Messianic circles at all, you know exactly who Izzy Avraham is. Izzy Avraham was the founder and the lead teacher at Holy Language Institute. He seems like a real nice guy, seems like a sweetheart. But I was just baffled at the video series that he put out. He put out 3 videos. And I'm going to give you the 45-second intro that from Izzy Avraham himself so that you can listen to what this video series was on. This is the nail in the coffin that helped me choose my thesis. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips from this series. And I think that you guys are really just going to get a lot of enjoyment.
This is all new to me.
Yes. Okay, here you go. Here's his intro.
Here's a picture from one of the oldest manuscripts of the Mishnah that we have. Jesus kept it. The Romans outlawed it. The entire Talmud is commentary on it. And Judaism today is based on it. The Mishnah and the New Testament come from the same Jewish world. And they have way more in common than you would think. Welcome to my new series, Mishnah Snapshots, looking specifically at how the Mishnah sheds light on the New Testament. These startlingly personal glimpses of Yeshua of Nazareth through the lens of ancient Jewish law won't just give you a new perspective on the Bible. They'll make your relationship with Yeshua and with his Jewish people better than ever.
Okay, so Izzy Avraham has now.
It sounds like FFOZ.
Yeah, well, so here's the deal: is that I'll give it to Izzy that there are good scholars. E.P. Sanders debates this. Dunn debates this. N.T. Wright debates this. There are good scholars within the religious world, whether or not we think they're right or not. And of course, Neusner, Jacob Neusner, a wonderful, great scholar who seems to have flip-flopped his view throughout time on the place and history of the Mishnah. And even N.T. Wright in his commentary on Romans will tell you that that in Romans 11:26, a passage that I was considering writing my thesis on, that Paul is possibly referencing the Mishnah. So I will give it to Izzy Avraham here that there are good scholars who purport that there were pieces, at least, of the Mishnah around in this time. However, I think that Izzy Avraham has not only gone one step further, I think he's gone several steps further because he never even addresses the historicity of the Mishnah. He just completely and utterly assumes that the Mishnah was not only around in the 1st century, which, by the way, we have absolutely no evidence of, but he thinks that Yeshua not only followed it, but kept it. And let's listen to another clip by
Avraham. And what manuscript of the Mishnah is he saying is authoritative? That's another problem.
Well, he never addresses that either. In fact, he doesn't want to. It doesn't seem that he wants to address the fact that there are various manuscripts of the Mishnah and that they differ quite extensively. So at least I didn't watch the entire series. Maybe he does address it. I want to give credence where credence should be due to the research that he's done. However, I think that he's made some major missteps. Let's listen to another clip.
Snapshots series. In this lesson, we are going to be talking about the million-dollar question of what did Yeshua think of the Mishnah? The answer to this question is that Yeshua kept the Torah as interpreted by the Mishnah and taught his disciples to do the same. The exception was the rare case in which a tradition eclipsed a commandment, which was something he took strong issue with. But don't take my word for it. let's look at what the Bible says about this important question.
So now Izzy Avraham is going to switch gears. He's going to switch to the Apostolic Scriptures to show us what he means by this. I think that our listeners, if you are one of the 36 listeners to this show, then I would assume that you already know the horrendous missteps that Mr. Avraham has taken here. First of all, he assumes, and I will let the other gentlemen on the show comment where they in just a few seconds here. He assumes that the Mishnah as we have it today was around in the 1st century. And not only that, but he assumes that Yeshua is responding to the Mishnah and not the other way around. Any comments from you, gentlemen?
Well, I just want to make sure what I heard him say on this last clip, if I heard the claim. The claim is Yeshua taught his disciples to obey the Mishnah.
Yes.
Except in specific areas where the Mishnah oversteps the Torah.
Correct.
That's my paraphrase. Is that
that's what
Tim,
I got?
Is that how you heard the claim? Okay. So and that fits with the first clip, which seems to say, look, you guys, we have the New Testament writings. What we have is this this code of ancient Jewish law that we need to put behind the New Testament. So we look at the Mishnah as the background to the New Testament, and it's going to draw us closer to Yeshua. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing too. And I think that's what he's saying. Let's see why he believes that. And this is one that people bring up all the time, and this will be a focus. That's
hogwash.
This passage that he's going to bring up is going to be one of the passages that I will look at in my thesis.
One indicator of what Yeshua thought of the Mishnah is how Luke mentions a Sabbath day's journey. The Hebrew term there is Tehum Shabbat. This term isn't actually used in the written Torah, but it is discussed and defined.
It's not used in Luke either.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's not used in Acts chapter 1 either. It's just the way of a Shabbat. The way, Hadas, of a Shabbat.
It's not.
Not only that, we have the Qumran had different laws.
Well, even amongst them, even in the Gemara on the Mishnah, some say it's 1,000 cubits, others say it's 2,000 cubits, and some say it's 10,000 cubits.
Right. And then is it a circle or is it a square?
Yeah, precisely.
Here's the thing, and the fact that we have similar laws in the Qumran, it's not rabbinic. This has nothing to do with rabbinic Mishnah, and this just shows that this person is not qualified to be making these videos. It reminds me of this other book. Are we going to talk about this other book?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Hang on, we'll bring that up in a second.
Yeah, don't let this is yeah.
Let's listen to the end of his statement here.
Here's the passage. Then they returned to Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is near Jerusalem, a Sabbath day's journey away. So notice 3 things here. Firstly, that Luke mentions this Mishnaic interpretation of Torah in a positive way. Secondly, that Luke assumes that his readers and fellow disciples are on the same page with him on this. And thirdly, notice that Luke was one of Paul's closest traveling companions and ministry partners. This also suggests that Paul had a similar attitude towards the Mishnah.
So, there are so many problems with this entire series that he's made. I think this next clip, it's 18 seconds.
Just to clarify, the way of the Sabbath, all it implies is that it's a traveling a distance where you're not packing up a load, like you're going to come back the same day. It's a journey that you would go on and come back, and there's nothing that someone would look at you and say, oh, they're headed out of town.
Right.
It's the idea you're not carrying a bunch of stuff with you. It's a leisurely walk. That's what a Sabbath day's journey is. It's a leisurely walk that has that it's clear to all that there's no intention of traveling, of business, or anything like that. It's
well, and it's obvious that he's reading the Mishnah in English, from some English translation. Yeah. He's not reading it, And if he
wait now, let's give credit where credit's due. Izzy Avraham.
I'm presuming he's.
No, he said to home. He used a Mishnaic term, which of course is not used by Luke.
It's just hodos in Luke. Just the Greek word for way. But the point simply is this: Mishnaic Hebrew is a lot different than Qumran Hebrew.
Yeah.
And a lot different than Tanakh Hebrew. Mishnaic Hebrew is a development of Hebrew that it's not even established in the first century from any documents that most can find.
It draws on Aramaic, it draws on Hebrew or Greek even.
It transliterates Latin terms.
I'm not gonna put down Izzy Avraham's knowledge of Hebrew.
I'm just saying that he's coming from a position where he's not actually dealing with Mishnah as we now have it.
Yeah, he's mixing his categories,
Right.
which I consider that building on sand.
Yes, I do too.
Well, let's listen to, I think this next clip, 18 seconds long. This might be the one or it's the next one, but take a listen to this.
Another indicator of Yeshua's thoughts on the Mishnah and the thoughts of his disciples on the Mishnah would be how the Day of Atonement is referred to as the fast. This is another term that isn't used in the written Torah and is a product of Mishnaic interpretation.
That wasn't the clip I thought it was, but once again, I think that he's reaching on this because we do have talks of the fasts or fast days within the Tanakh itself. The next clip, this is where this was one of my favorite clips that I pulled because he actually talks about reading things back into that we're not allowed to read things from other times back into older times.
Here's an example of this. When he had reclined at the table with them, and notably this is post-resurrection. This is after Yeshua came back from the dead. He took the bread and blessed. And some translations will insert it in italics here. For instance, the New American Standard Translation. He took the bread and blessed it. This is an anachronistic reading. This is an example of translators inserting their own interpretations from another era and another culture into the Bible. So, in the Christian culture, people talk about blessing the food. But in the Jewish culture, we don't bless the food. We bless God who gave us the food. And so anyways, and that was also what Yeshua did. He would say, Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth, for instance, was the traditional Jewish blessing that he would have said.
So he talks about not making anachronistic statements. Then he takes a prayer that was created much later. At least we don't have any evidence that it was in the time of the first century, but didn't come around until much. I mean, I think the first even alluding to that prayer is not until the 12th or 13th century. Yet he says that Yeshua, so in the same breath, and this is what was so egregious to me, in the same breath, he says, we can't be anachronistic. This is the Christians putting this back, and the interpreters putting it back into this culture. And then he takes something from 1,300 years later. And
no, it's not that, Caleb. We have the Hamotzi earlier than that.
Where?
I'll find it. I don't know exactly, but
we
it's
don't
not
know.
that late.
Sure, it is, because we don't have a full Mishnaic text until the 12th century.
My accordance just crashed, so I'll have to check it later.
But the point is that we have scraps of the Mishnah from the Cairo Geniza, but I don't believe that the Hamotzi is found in any of those scraps, which means the earliest scrap that we would have of the earliest full Mishnah that we have is the 11th century. Here's
the bigger point. The bigger point is, what we're hearing is this teacher has the idea of the such thing as anachronism. And he's going to use it. It's a tool in his toolbox. He's like, okay, I got to be aware of anachronism. On the flip side, he seems to be taking the rabbinic testimony of their own tradition at face value. So it goes back to the first century and earlier. Why? Because the rabbis say it does.
Right.
He's not
back to Sinai.
Yeah, he's not using any other foundation, because if we just look from a historical perspective, he's approaching this all wrong.